Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Hope you're all having a wonderful start to your day and you're able to get out into the garden today, as I am. We've got some beautiful weather, and fall is absolutely one of the best times to be out in the garden, not just to clean up and organize, but to start planning for next year. One of the ways I do that is I get out around this time and do a bit of chop and drop, some cleanup. This is a backyard food forest design, and in that design, one of the things that we like to do is have an understory to our fruit trees. So we want plants growing at every layer so that we can maximize production, and if those plants can be companion plants and help each other out, even better. So as you can see here, we've got an older artichoke plant. That's what this was. These had some beautiful purple flowers earlier, but the plant has expired. These seed heads here, see if I can pull a seed out for you. A little bit difficult to get out, but each one of these artichoke heads has a bunch of these seeds in there. So typically what I do when I'm cleaning up the artichokes is I'll remove the seed heads and I'll just chop and drop the rest of the plant. Now you can see here at the base of this expired plant, we've got all this new growth. That's because the artichoke is a perennial. So every year it actually multiplies, and the new little plants there you can divide, separate, and spread the plant out. So we're going to go ahead and start removing these plants. I'm just going to take the whole thing out, drop them in the pathways, and probably come around later, collect the seed heads. If these end up spreading throughout the garden and growing some volunteers, that's just fine. Another good thing about the artichoke, it's very easy to pull up a volunteer and remove the plant, and in that process you're able to create some added chop and drop, because when you're taking out smaller plants, you've got all this leaf material here, which is wonderful for dropping on your food forest floor, your garden floor, to mulch around your plants. Help you to conserve water, keep that sun from beating down right onto the soil surface and drying out all the roots. And this is one of the absolute best tools for chopping and dropping in your garden. This is a Japanese sickle or a rice sickle, and it's just great because you can hook around and chop down the plants with relative ease. It's very sharp. You can see we've got a serrated edge there. Now most of these older artichokes I should be able to just pull out by hand. The stalks are pretty dry at this point. Just going to kind of clean out the center here so we can see what's going on. And check this out. Here's the main stalk of that older artichoke, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plants there that we can divide and separate out. Absolutely amazing. And if you're like me and you've already transplanted the artichoke all throughout your garden and you're pretty much maxed out, you can take these plants, pot them up, give them to a neighbor, sell them at the farmer's market, or you can just pull them up and use it as a mulch in your garden. This stuff will break down relatively quick. In about a week or two, it'll almost be completely decomposed. Clean up some of that growth at the bottom as well. And you see this right here? Just wonderful chop and drop for your garden. Look at this. This is a major asset. You don't want to overlook mulching and creating mulch materials in your garden so that you can be self-sufficient. But what I'm doing today, you could multiply this times 100. I'm going to be able to create this material times 100 over the course of the next 20-30 minutes that I'm out here doing this task. Another thing I wanted to mention is when you're out here doing this, if you're pulling up some of the other native weeds, there's no seed heads yet developed. It's not a really vigorous root grower. You can just drop it right back on the ground. If you got something that'll take root really easy, if you got some cardboard pieces laying out in your garden, you can throw that stuff right on there to break down. Once it dries out over the course of a couple days, you'll be good. Again, if there's no seed heads, chop and drop is just fine. If you do have seed heads, just know they'll germinate if you drop them in the garden. So I'm just going to keep going around this plant. It really takes less than a minute. Break off some of those lower leaves. Just clean up. Really harvest all this natural organic material that's been building up here in this spot. I'm harvesting it now. This is part of my garden harvest. This material is part of my garden harvest. So it looks like I'm not really going to need the sickle today for the artichokes, but this also works really well for comfrey. And look at the spread on this comfrey plant here. It's covering a 3.5 to 4 foot diameter, just completely covering the soil, mulching it. It's beautiful. There's really no need to chop and drop this, but what I can do is go around the edge. And by cutting away those older leaves from the main plant, they're going to begin the breakdown process. And the plant's going to shoot up a bunch of new growth and create some more leaves for me. Again, look at this, guys. In the case of comfrey, dynamic nutrient accumulator. Deep tap roots mine up lots of different nutrients, minerals, other plants can't reach, and we just brought it to the surface here, where it is now going to release all that good stuff into the top layers of your soil, where the rest of your plants are going to be headed as they begin to grow throughout the next year. There we go. Here's another comfrey plant here. Just going to go around. Nature provides everything you need to garden successfully and grow in abundance. Fruits, vegetables, herbs, whatever it is that you desire. Put in a little effort, get a lot back. I actually like the way these look, even when they've died back. More Swiss chard. It's been at least 2 years since I planted chard in my garden. You can see I'm taking these artichoke stalks, covering up this cardboard. This is the pathway. Just going to let this break down. Like I said, I could come out here weeks from now and remove these heads if I want to collect seeds, or just let it break down. And if I end up getting a few volunteer plants over here, easily pull them up and just drop them in place. Okay, here we got a couple Fuji apples. Little nature's bird feeder there. There's even a couple ants on there. It's okay. And I'll worry about thinning out these plants later. For now, we're just doing the cleanup and the first round of chop and drop here. Alright, so you can really see the difference now with much of the older growth removed in this area. Another benefit to growing the artichokes as an understory to your fruit trees is all through the growing season, as these plants are growing and spreading out, they're creating shade underneath their leaves. So it really is a living mulch, as well as a wonderful chop and drop plant. Produces delicious artichokes, very healthy for you. And it's actually one of the easiest plants to grow. I started with 2 plants that I picked up at the nursery, and now I've got dozens and dozens and dozens. So I'm going to continue on doing this chop and drop today. I'd like to encourage you, if you haven't already, to consider learning more about food forest gardening as a means of gardening and providing an abundance of fruits, vegetables, just healthy ingredients for your dinner table for you and your family. After nearly a decade of gardening on this particular plot, I gotta tell you, the workload has decreased so much because of the perennials as the foundation of this food forest system. This is probably the least amount of input of work that I've had to do coming out into the food forest this year in 2020, and we're reaping the rewards now of our investment of time and a little bit of money up front. It's been a wonderful experience thus far. I've enjoyed sharing it with you guys, and I look forward to seeing the continued development of this system as it continues to produce more and more abundance for us. So with that, I want to thank you all for tuning in today. If you enjoyed today's video, I sure would appreciate if you smash those thumbs, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. New uploads every week, sometimes every day, and I'm always updating you on all the different projects growing on around here. So with that, take care everyone. I'll be talking to you again real soon.